Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this, your Aquarius March 2025 reading and forecast. Hi, I'm Nigel Saint James, Clairvoyant. Well, I've got a great deck this month for you. I think it might be called Star or something. I always throw away the boxes because it's got a star on the back of it. I always throw away the boxes and the papers and books and everything because they don't really do much for me. And what I do find, though, with this deck is some quite interesting imagery in it, so I might point out a couple of things. You'll see others in there, but just a couple of things that I find are interesting at the moment that I look at it to notice. And, you know, as a clairvoyant, well, I provide clairvoyant readings to people all over the world via FaceTime and Skype. And if you might be interested in that, the details are in the description. It takes about an hour and a half, I would say, the clairvoyant reading. Now, I charge for those. There's another thing which I do, which is for free, and it takes about 45 minutes, is provide, sometimes a bit longer, the spiritual gift of healing. Now, that's done over FaceTime and Skype, wherever you may be in the world as well. And it's for free because I can't get anything in return for it. So nothing will be sold to you, nothing will be recommended to you, nothing will be suggested to you. You're not going to get recommendation to do anything from me or from anybody else. You're not going to get bombarded with emails from me or anybody else. I've been doing it for over 4 decades. It's very clear to me that it is provided on the basis that I am a pipe that the beloved uses to extend relief, compassion, and healing to us all. And so hundreds of people have taken advantage of it through this channel, you know. So if it does speak to you, you're not alone, and I do people every day. Now, let's see what's going on. There's no video advertisements in this, so you get to enjoy the reading without any interruptions, with ads. Here we go. Knight of Swords. Stark-looking knight there. 4 of Swords. Great art in this. 5 of Wands. Ace of Cups. Let's see, there's something in here somewhere. 8 of Cups. Right, gee, lots of got the mixture there. Swords, cups, and wands. Why don't you come and sit down here next to me? I'll then bring the camera around so everybody else can have a look. And we'll have a look at the artwork that's on these cards together. I'll point out a couple of things, as I said. You can see things in it, I'm sure, as well. And together we'll go through it as the cosmic energies swirl, and I'll do the reading for you. Great time of year this. Spring, March, coming into spring, 0 degrees Aries on the 21st of March. Springtime. This time of year reminds me of my wife. Beautiful. Not like a Vogue cover girl sort of beauty, but beautiful features. Beautiful hair, beautiful eyes, beautiful skin, beautiful laugh, beautiful friend, beautiful lover. One night we were in our bed together and she was naked and pressed up to me, our bodies covered in sweat, golden because of the dimmed lights. And she whispered to me, "You are like a god, like an immortal one." And I whispered back to her, well, I'm far from that. I'm just waiting for these energies to connect with me, you see. So just bear with me for a second. Yes, I said that I'm far from an immortal one. In fact, every night I live, I feel when I lie with you that a part of me dies as well. And the next day, she left me. She was crossing an intersection and somebody completely coked or methed out of their head sped through a red traffic light and hit her. It was instant. And later that day, where I had to go in and identify the body, I saw that her beautiful features had been dishonored by that brutal impact. And after that, her absence was like the sky. It was everywhere, or more particularly, it was concentrated into my body which had been which was hers as her lover. Well, now my body was like an empty house. But since then, she has spoken to me and taught me about grief and loss, and also taught me about renewal and joy and hope and love and life to be lived still. And it's as if she is still speaking to me and saying that at the center of the universe is a loving heart that continues to beat and that wants the best for every person. And anything we can do to help foster the intellect and spirit and emotional growth of our fellow human beings, that is our job. And those of us who have this particular vision must continue against all odds, because life is for service. Right, now I've got this. It's come through in a flash, so let me see it. I apologize for that interlude. Now I've got this energy sorted. Here is the Ace of Cups. Look, here is the depiction, I suppose, of the divine, really, and the divine love pouring down through the sun, the male sun, down through this chalice, the heart chakra, presumably, down through this flower into the full female moon. These streams coming off, there are 5 of them in total, and I imagine represent the 5 senses of the human, and this rainbow demonstrates the complete intermingling of spirit, of soul and manifestation, the soul in manifestation. This is, I think Scorpio, Sagittarius and Libra are going to be important to you around this time. Now, this is speaking for you of love in its purest sense, abundance. May well be a new relationship going here. I suspect that you're going to hear of a birth or a pregnancy, some sensual passion, a great interest in sexuality, and if yourself, you can still engage in that, of course. This is, in a sense, the feminine counterpart to the Ace of Wands, this energy. It's open, receptive, surrendering, and bearing the transformatory power of giving love. Now, the Suit of Cups itself, you'd be familiar that that suit embodies the experiences of relationships, the pursuit of happiness, love, fulfillment, pleasure. But of course, we can't know any of those unless we have had the opposites of them, have we? The giving of love will happen effortlessly now for you, and that which is radiating down into you and continually flowing into you from the source of boundless abundance, that of being itself, radiates out again as if by itself. That is, if you remain open and receptive. I suppose you can, in one respect, compare it to a flower which sends off its fragrance, its perfume, whether someone comes close enough to enjoy its perfume or not. Now, love, of course, is hard sometimes, but this is saying to you, and I think particularly in connection with this card here, that to love at all is to be vulnerable. Love anything and your heart will be wrung and possibly broken. If you want to make sure of keeping it intact, you must give it to no one, not even an animal. Wrap it carefully around with hobbies and little luxuries and avoid all entanglements. Lock it up safe in the coffin of your selfishness. But in that coffin, safe, dark, motionless, airless, it will change. It will not be broken. It will become unbreakable, impenetrable, irredeemable. To love is to be vulnerable. Now, noticing where this is placed, this is a card which is obviously very much to do with competition and fighting, arguments, and problems. And it's placed next to it. There is a man, there is a woman, there is a man, there is a woman, and there is love. What does that mean? I don't know. I'll get to it in just a second. But I do know that here, this is saying that, look, very often we speak of unconditional love, don't we? Well, unconditional love is like a country of two people with no laws and no government. Now that's all very good if everybody is peaceful and law-abiding. But in the wrong hands, though, you get looting, rioting, robbery, crime sprees, and let me tell you, the people who demand unconditional love, those people who demand that they be loved unconditionally, they are usually the ones who will rob and pillage, and then blame you because you left your door unlocked. Now, this is just trying to inspire me with something, this woman, this love, man around love, they're connected somehow or other. Ah, got it. This is the situation where, very often these days, of course, people have partnerships or they get married and they have children, and then that marriage or partnership dissolves. And in the world that we live in at the moment, the father very rarely gets to see the children, or not often at all, very often. And there can be, as a result of that, some animosity. Now, there's also for very many fathers, crippling child support payments. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, right, before we get into that, but which sometimes do, with some people, bring up a resentment, I suppose. The woman, the love, the man around here, and children, love. Okay. The greatest thing a father can do for his children is to respect the woman that gave birth to his children. It is because of her that you have the greatest treasures in your life. Now, you may have moved on, sure, but your children have not. Now, if you are no longer her soulmate, then put ego aside, use your mind and not your other instincts. You are no longer her soulmate, sure, then at least be thoughtful. Now, whom your children love should always be someone that you acknowledge with kindness. Your children notice everything and they follow your example. And if you run their mother down to them, they will hold it against you forever. All right, now I just
Well, there are cups on this thing, so why don't we stay down with the cups? And what is this? Well, yes, very interesting. A bunch of cups here. Looks like something wasn't so fulfilling after all, isn't it? But you are moving on. Here's this spark of the divinity coming with you, and this star which is becoming an island, and then this connection, and these dolphins, of course, bringing good luck, good fortune to you as you make your way to the surface and out of, well, which could be a predicament or some emotional stagnation or something like that, because I see Saturn ruling the first decan of Pisces. Now, Saturn, of course, is all about structure. Pisces isn't, is it? Saturn's about organization and discipline, and it's a heavy energy and about responsibility. Well, Pisces is about fantasy. It's a walking plate of emotion. It's very intuitive. And what's happening is that Saturn is kind of walking in here and deadening the waters of Pisces. Saturn is dominating and suffocating the joy of Pisces. And I see here the number 8, which has the association, for me, mystically, with Mercury, that flighty planet, neither male nor female. It's got Mercury present, so the overall influence really resembles dark Saturn with no growth. Now, the other thing that I do notice here is that Mercury, of course, is in detriment, they call it, in Pisces. So you might feel some stagnation, some obstruction, some emotional blockages, a laziness. Is this actually a swamp? Are you getting out of the swamp? Because the waters of emotion perhaps are not being renewed by any spring, and they are stagnating. Perhaps the mists rise to the sky and cloud the light of clarity. Well, I think that you have already wasted enough of your energy on people who give back nothing in return. You have filled them with your energy, but they are like bottomless barrels. They are like energy or emotional vampires, and you feel empty and sucked dry. The river of your energy, in a sense, has started to dry up, and the more you try to revitalize, well, maybe a relationship which has fallen into a rut, the more powerless and empty you feel. And any attempt to re-energize the other person will just dissipate your energies further without achieving any results. Now, before I make any comments which are coming up to me here, I will say one thing, and it is this, that if in a relationship you give love and you give support to someone, and in return all you get is sarcasm or dismissal, then now is the time to hand that relationship back to God so that each of you can get on with your soul contract and find happiness here. This is calling upon you to, and this is particularly in relation to relationships, I suppose. Look, sometimes islands just happen to spring up from the ocean as a result of volcanic activity. Sometimes earthquakes just happen. Sometimes tornadoes just happen. Well, his tongue does not just happen to fall into another woman's mouth. Now, this is also saying here that this is a time for you to call, it's almost like this is your spirit here, to call your spirit back. It may be caught in corners and creases of shame or judgment and human abuse. You must call in a way that your spirit will want to return. Speak to it as you would to a beloved child. Welcome your spirit back from its wandering. It may return in pieces, in tatters. Gather them together. They'll be happy to be found after being lost for so long. In any event, I think actually there are things going on with you, because it is spring in the Northern Hemisphere. This barren time, I suppose, in March, when you cannot really be sure if it's really warmer, but you are so desperate for change that you tell yourself that the mud at the edge of the sidewalk is different than winter mud, and you are sure that the smell of wet soil has suddenly a bit of the scent of summer rains, of grass and drowned earthworms. And it has, because it is spring, and inside the ground and inside of you, something is stirring. And I think this stirring is the magic of your larger life has been trying to reach you, pouring through the cracks, seeping up through the ground around you. It has no aim except one: to save you, to bring back the moist oasis of midnight wine and pillow talk to that dry desert that you have become. Now, it's time then to consider yourself and set some limits and say no. It might be an old behavior pattern to always direct your love towards people from whom nothing comes in return. Now, what people come to mind for you in this context? But you get some peace and rest from the aggravation of life. And here is the great benefic Jupiter. Oh, Jupiter be coming into there. Must be Libra, the third decan of Libra, the 14th to the 22nd of October. Let's have a look at this painting here. Is it a man or a woman? It must be a man that's got no breasts. So a man lying down asleep inside some sort of a hut with all the snow coming down outside. These three bears looking after the person. Here is the fish or the salmon of wisdom. Now look at the swords are pointing down, which means rest, recuperation, healing. Body, mind, soul, emotion. Healing. Good. And you will then wake up and all shall be well. Well, of course, Jupiter in Libra, Libra wants to find balance in your life. And I think what you're going to do is actually find that you now, as a result of coming through some pain, just end up being calm, centered. You've got clarity. There's a spiritual cleansing for sure has gone on with you. But you are recuperating. This is a good atmosphere for the rose of recognition to unfold and expand. And Jupiter in here is carrying the qualities of joy and expansion. And whatever situation seemed hopeless or just not satisfying until now, actually you probably look at it and find that it may well, sometimes you've just got to cut your losses. It may well, for example, the sound, did you know that there is a sound when the phone never rings? It's called the sound of I've disappeared or I'm not interested. So there are some things that you've got to cut your losses on, but there are sometimes you can pull out of a situation some elements that can lead to a fortunate or prosperous solution. Jupiter, as I say, is bringing good luck, good fortune. This is also, interestingly, a month of abundance and success, as well as prosperity, as well as for love. Great energy coming through here. But you'll ask yourself what supports and what hinders my clarity. Have a look around at your surroundings. See if you want to rearrange them to support you being calm and centered, and just say to yourself, look, I am at peace within myself. Now let me see, finally I think that takes us, does it not, to, is it the oh no, there's wands here. Look at, well, this is Saturn in Leo. Now Saturn and Leo just do not get on together. Saturn and Leo, you see, Saturn is the ruler of your sign, and Leo is ruled by the sun, and they're diametrically opposed to each other. So you are kind of opposed to this energy here that is yours, and so you can expect some fireworks, some conflict. But there's a lot of life and growth associated with things here as well, I must say. But nevertheless, there may be this period here where there is some unfulfilled desire, or, you know, there is a sort of a vain striving. I actually think that you're going to end up in some sort of a competition. There's an unrest here, or disagreements, maybe even an internal battle with yourself, competition going on. Number 5, Mars. Well, that is good for you. So I see possibility of disagreements with people. Look, life is what it is it not? But also competition I see here. In fact, I see competition. It might be that you are out there in a sales situation. You might be an author, and of course there's plenty of bloody books out there, are there not? You could be a playwright. You could want to be a filmmaker. You may say, I've got a new business and I want to produce this type of a product. There's competition everywhere around you. I think that you are doing something, or engaging upon something, or thinking about doing something for which there is a lot of competition out there. So the question is, what is the little niche area that you are going to find to slot into so you don't get swallowed up and spend all your time and effort fighting off people in other areas? It could well be that you have competition with, now she's not an unattractive woman, so it may well be that you have competition with, well, with people who are as attractive as you are, although in a sort of a different way, you know, for the attention of other people or a particular person. It may well be that there are people who've got the same sort of a background or resume that you do. I think it's going to turn out pretty positively, though, for you, because Mars and Saturn, they actually get on really, really well. Even though you don't get on with Leo and the Sun necessarily, you nevertheless are aided here by this planet and I have a mystical association with Mars there as well. Incidentally, funnily enough, you do also get on with the lesser benefic, which is Venus, and this green colouring here is very evocative of the planet of Venus, which is the most occult, dark, mysterious, powerful planet, and misunderstood generally. And I see, and that means victory. So in the competition that you are, it also has an association with victory. So in the competition that you have, in the, I won't call it a fight, but in the world of toing and froing, you're going to come out first. Look, I would say this, though, that you should have a look at yourself in your bathroom mirror, in your vanity mirror, whatever they call them. I can't remember, I don't know what women call things. The mirror that's above the wash basin. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, my greatest competition is now looking at me. Be your own greatest competitor and improve, and then you'll find everybody else juggling and fighting to come in at second place. Now, this final card is has got a lot of Aquarius energy all around it. Actually, it's also got Capricorn with it, funnily enough. So I see material advancement and status coming your way. So there's material advantage, status coming your way, achievement coming your way here as well. You have a lot of ideas. Yours is a very intelligent sign. Now, this is air and that's air, so you've got a lot of air running around. So this is someone who, now this can be someone who is either a male or a female in these court cards, someone who's very intellectual, full of ideas and plans, very clever, someone who can be quite domineering at times. And I think what the issue here is that you are going to have a lot of creative thinking, and you're going to be cutting through all entanglements and becoming free of limited ideas and models, and your perception of what's going on is going to be clear. Now, when your creative process works, it works really well, but it's got to be grounded in something practical so that it can become fruitful. Now, a lot of people might think that you are purely intellectual, full of ideas, tumbling over each other, and they might find it difficult to keep up with you at the moment. Your ideas might just be well ahead of their time. The thing is with you, I see a lot of very good, innovative ideas coming around you, and they're coming one after another like this, one after another, one after. I think there's a need here for you to slow down and make sure that you don't jump from one good idea without developing it to the next good idea, to the next good idea, on the basis that any of them are just as good as each other. Take something in, finish it, put it out there, get it to start to work. So free yourself from whatever limits your mind and spirit, and be sure that you express your ideas and plans in ways that other people are going to understand, and accept their opinions humbly, if that's possible. Because I say, your thinking may just be well ahead of its time, but I think that you can adjust to make your vision workable in the present without sacrificing anything. Now, you might want to ask yourself this question. What beliefs, feelings, relationships, or programmed ideas do you allow to limit you? Say to yourself, my creative possibilities have no limits, but I do need to turn them into something tangible. What a fantastic set of cards for you. Well, all the better for having you here.
Extremely interesting artwork, wouldn't you say? Beautiful, I think. Now, unless I see you in the meantime, either for a clairvoyant reading or for healing, then I'll see you here again next month. And until then, though, remember one thing, and it is this, that you are a legend. And I look forward to seeing you again next month. And until then, it's bye for now.